Man, what's going on? We back for another one. Before the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Man, we're talking about Rougarou today. Regis Prograis. He's becoming a free agent. I guess he has one more fight left under the belt, but they're in the process of pretty much, getting out of that whole situation. It's been a while, man, since his last fight, and DeBella hasn't been able to really get him another bout. You know what I mean? Hasn't been able to lock down anything of consequence. So I think they probably just, it's probably a situation where he wasn't going to go back to him anyway, and they decided to just kind of, call it a day for now, so he can progress with his career and see where, what he can get and where he can go. Now, one of the problems with DeBella is that the people that he can go to is very limited. He used to do a lot of PBC shows. He used to do a lot of Deontay Wilder fights, but he hasn't for a while. He kind of basically burnt that bridge. And allegedly, the word is that he basically stole money from some fighters from the events, and so they obviously cut him off. It's been very, very difficult for him to get Regis Prograis on the road. This Tevin Farmer fight hasn't even been, rematch hasn't even been finalized, so we don't even know what's going on with that. And Diaz just signed a deal with MTK Global, and they don't want to do that fight from the sounds of it. So see if that's even going to be able to happen. See if he's even going to be able to keep, Tevin Farmer. Was that a situation where he kind of loses that fighter as well? But Regis has options. You know what I mean? Like an option. One of the options somebody might think of is like, hey, maybe he can stay on the zone. Maybe he can take that route. But right now, the zone's kind of sketchy. They don't know where they're going. Furloughing a lot of fighters, and I'm not saying that they're going out of business. What I will say is they might be in a way kind of transitioning out of boxing, and they're not going to necessarily be, putting in the type of finances that they were before, especially if it's fighters that aren't bringing in lots of viewership. So I don't see that as really being an option for him. He could go to Top Rank. Top Rank has Taylor. Top Rank has Ramirez. Both of them that basically have all the belts. So he could go that route. Top Rank, they're known for, when you sign on, sometimes giving you good money up front. But there are things that come with it. Rougarou's one in that group where Top Rank is not going to promote you. They're not going to invest in you like that. You know what I mean? You see how Shakur's been treated. You see the lack of promotion, the lack of push when it comes to him. We all see what's happening with Terrence Crawford. You know what I mean? They weren't willing to invest the $20 million that would have gotten Manny Pacquiao to fight him when he was on Top Rank. They're not willing to invest the money right now to even get like a Ugas or a Sean Porter, anything like that. Keith Thurman, none of those guys to fight him. So he's part of that group, and if you're part of that group, they're not going to invest in you at all. They didn't invest in Floyd Mayweather like that. So if you're not investing in that man, that kind of says it all. So, but a lot of times what they do is they will give you usually good money up front. Then over time, obviously, they look for that money in the back end. They're going to be taking their huge cuts. I guess they'll probably, comes from your, from the events or whatever. And the fighter come up, they'll be like, hey, we don't got that. We can pay you this. We can't afford that. We can pay you this though. What do you want to do? Do you want to fight or not? Try to force extensions, things of that nature. We know that there's been multiple lawsuits from De La Hoya, Miguel Cotto, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Mikey Garcia, Chavez Jr. Like the list goes on and on and on. So you have to understand when you get into that situation and understand that you're not necessarily going to get those fights against Ramirez or Taylor. Just because they have the belts doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get those fights. But you might be able to get that in the contract and get those fights. Get one of those fights and, hopefully you win. If you don't, it's going to be tough for you, But that's also an option, though. He might still decide to go that route. That upfront money, that check that he might be putting up in front of him might be enough where it says, you know what, let me take this. Kind of like the NFL, They put that big, fat upfront check. Sometimes you're like, man, I'll take this. I'll take this right now. You might not be unhappy later on. When you see all these other players, you see what these other players are making when they chill and they relax. But, to each his own. It's an option he might take. Another option would be obviously to go to PBC. Now with PBC, for the fact that your these are the people that pretty much when it comes to boxing, they're the best at it at this present moment. When it comes to viewership, they get high viewership. When it comes to promotion, you know they're going to promote you in a very good way. When it comes to finances, they're going to pay you well. That's number one. They're going to show you the ins and outs of the business to the point where you become a big star. You're going to be getting parts of the gate. You're going to be getting parts of the concessions. You're going to be getting TV rights. You're going to be getting a lot of things that you won't necessarily get with the other promoters, you know? And your advisor is only going to take the maximum 15% instead of that 30 plus that Bob Arum is going to take. You know, that's going to be, that's the main things. And if you can get a fight with like an Adrian Broner, a fight with Adrian Broner is bigger than any Ramirez fight, any Taylor fight, doesn't matter if belts on the line. Those are huge money fights. That's a huge money fight. And then if you decide that you want to go up to 147 pounds, obviously most of the main players are also with PBC, you know, and they pay well. You know, they'll also show you how to invest that money. You know, Andy Ruiz, he signed with PBC, you know, got his money up, and he's showing you apartment complexes that he's building. You know, all we can go somebody from that, from that level. You can jump up, you know, to that same level with the Charlos. They'll show you the investments that they put in. You can go lower to Peter Quillen. Peter Quillen got a crazy real estate portfolio. Or even someone like a J-Rock. J-Rock, who got knocked out, you know, was pretty much put on the shelf by his promoter. Al Haymon was able to get him out of that contract, put him on undercards, and he was making enough money where he was able to buy over $1 million worth of real estate. That's at least $250,000 down, 25%. At least $250,000, and he was able to invest into these properties. So that was before the J-Rock fight. I mean, not the J-Rock, before the Ramirez or whatever fight, where he got paid a full M+ for that fight. You know, so they also teach you, you know what I'm saying? They don't only give you the fish, but they show you how to get the fish. They teach you how to fish. They'll teach you how to get that rod, how to get that, you know, whatever bait, put that on, show you the exact place you need to go into the ocean so you can get your own. You know, they don't just necessarily just bring it to you. They're going to bring you some fish, but they're also going to show you how to get more. You know, so, and the big thing is if you also can take a loss over there, you're all right. You can still come back up. You see Adrian Broner and how everything's happening with him. Robert Guerrero lost after Floyd Mayweather lost. He was getting $1 million fight after $1 million fight after $1 million fight after he lost. Molina, we can go to lower. Molina, all the shots that he got, all the fights that he got. They don't necessarily even have to be like a top guy. They'll take care of you. You know what I'm saying? And they'll give you opportunities. You know? So, and when it comes to the belts, I wouldn't necessarily worry about it because they can put you into a space where you can become a mandatory through those belts, whether it be the IBF or whether it be the WBA, especially those two, the IBF and the WBA. Maybe the WBC, but definitely the IBF and the WBA. And once you get into that position, then you can just go ahead and, you know, purse bids or whatever, where they can either fight you or they can give the belts up. But they can help you get into that position. So out of all three, me personally, I think the best for him would be PBC, just due to the fact you're also fighting on regular television, whether even Showtime. Showtime has a budget, but especially if they can have you fighting on regular television, it'll work out for him. You know, they'll get you into space where, they'll get you to a space where you can even have fights at home, and you'll have a whole lot more than that 400 people that you had in your fight when you were fighting at home with Eddie Hearn running the show, running that particular event. So, you know, that should be the place that he goes, but I wouldn't be shocked if he said, F that, Top Rank is giving me this fat upfront money, I'll deal with the BS like all these other guys afterwards. But, you know, we'll see what the option. I don't see the Zone as an option. I don't think, and the Zone isn't putting up money like that anymore. You know, that $1 billion deal, that $1 billion they had to spend, man, that $1 billion got cut down real quick. So we'll see what happens, and you know, we'll see where he decides to go. And regardless of what he decides, definitely keep supporting him, and good luck to the man and his whole family. But for now, like, subscribe, share. I'm out.